Hey everybody, how's it
Hi.
going? Hey, we are here. I am Haley Gray. This is my friend Victoria Bentley.
Hi.
Tonight we are going to be talking about a sensitive topic, so I'm just going to warn you.
Whoa.
We're going to be talking about loss and death and coping, and even loss with work and career, businesses and clients,
An age.
and age. Yeah. Today is a kind of a rough day in my life. It's the anniversary of my father's death, and we're down to the home stretch with our dog. Tomorrow we'll be calling the vet if she makes it through the night to come in and euthanize her. So it's, very much at the forefront of my mind. How do you cope? How do you keep going? Especially when there's all of these, big losses, but also like little losses that happen along the way. And how do you avoid becoming completely numb and uncaring?
I don't think you could if you wanted to.
Me?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Correct. Although there have been times where I've been slightly more numb than others.
Well, I think we have to throw up the wall sometimes because
Yeah,
we have
absolutely.
a project on our desk that has to be done or a trial date or something. We do not have the luxury of saying, I'm going to sit this one out
Mm-hmm.
because people are counting on us. And that's a reality of being an adult. You have
Mm-hmm.
children who are counting on you and they
Mm-hmm.
they are missing their loved one too.
Yep.
And we have to show them how to grieve. We have to
Mm-hmm.
show them how it's done.
Yeah. And it doesn't mean that you shove it down and don't give yourself time to grieve. I think you have to give yourself that time and that space, process whatever loss in whatever way is appropriate to you,
Mm-hmm.
and don't let it consume you.
That's a tall order, isn't it?
That's a tall order. I mean,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
one of the things that I have a tiny bit of experience with in my life is that my oldest has had a traumatic brain injury from a fall from a horse, and subsequently has had some psychiatric issues. And some days are really good. Some days you would never know. And then some days are Katie bar the door.
Well, and the reality also with her diagnosis is that she will never be where she once was.
Exactly.
And
And
that's a loss in itself.
it
Because
is.
the loss of what could have been for a promising young woman.
Mhm.
And now it's acceptance of what is and making the best of what today is.
Yep. And it's like 1,000 deaths because it's, that hope that you get when you have a good day. And then you have that promptly dashed on the rocks when it's not such a good day. And it hurts. Um,
Oh,
you
hope
know,
is a bugger, isn't it?
hope is a real bugger sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And, I'm not trying to be depressing, y'all. It,
I don't think
it's,
you are. I think this is a very real topic for everyone who's in our audience today
mhm,
because everyone has had to say goodbye to someone or will have to say goodbye to someone. And everybody does it differently. And the reality is we're business women.
mhm.
Um, you don't have the luxury of saying, I think I'm going to go to the spa for a month.
No, I never have.
One of my losses, Haley, that I'm struggling with is a loss of purpose.
Mhm.
I'm now retired,
Yeah.
although I went to see clients today and did wills and all that stuff. Had a wonderful time, but I am no longer that person. I am
Right.
I am no longer that person, and
Mhm.
um, because of some medical disabilities, like eyesight from glaucoma, the FAA wanted me to do a flight check every 90 days. And it's just because we don't believe you when you tell us that you can see and you can fly. Really? You think I'm going to go risk that? You think I'm going to go risk my life? And I think that as you age, people, the person I watched today with an aging mother, and I was doing the living will for the aging mother, and the daughter was treating her like a child. And you lose that too.
You lose that dignity.
Yes. Yeah. And I watched that, and I just wanted to smack the daylights out of her. And it's like, this is the same woman. She just walks with a walker now. Why are you treating her like an idiot, an imbecile? Right. And this was a nurse daughter, a daughter who knows better. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand it. And I know how much she loves her mother. And we all love in different ways, and we all grieve in different ways. And loss is just, it's getting harder. I thought I'd be good at it by now. No, because at my age, this is top of the fourth quarter. Yeah. I'm not looking at halftime here. I'm looking at the third act in a 3-act play. And, looking forward to friends dying, friends becoming ill, family dying. I mean, that's the way it's been the last couple of years. It's a funeral every year of a family member. And that's just that, welcome to being 60. And
welcome to adulthood. It kind of sucks,
It really does.
This adult thing can be challenging when, there's that, and this is what I wanted to do when I grew up, or this is what I was looking for. I don't think I was asking for this stuff. This like adulting piece, to me, it's one of those things that, like it happens in business too, to a lesser extent, right? You get a great client, you lose a client. I'm on top of the world and I'm not on top of the world. You get into this amazing thing and then you realize that it's not so amazing and you have to let go of it. Raise your hands if you've done that, and then you grieve that what could have been, what should have been, if only it had been better.
And how do you develop the grace to do this well, to do this gracefully? I don't know.
And I've seen people that do it very gracefully. One of my goals in my business is to be very graceful about losses because they happen. They do. And anybody who tells you otherwise is lying through their teeth. How do you, let it roll off your back as opposed to going batshit bonkers, bananas crazy? And I've seen it over and over again where people just lose their minds.
Well, I think the adults who came before us had considerably more adverse circumstances than we have had for many of us in this generation. Let's just say not you personally, me personally, but this generation, and especially the one behind me, the kids born in the 80s, they haven't had the same kinds of hardships that our parents had.
But they're different.
You're lucky if you get a 5-pound bag of sugar this month, and here's your 3 gallons of gasoline.
And yet the realities, I would dare say right now, are equally harsh in different dimensions. Oh, sorry, you didn't have a 4.0 GPA. You're not going to get into the program you wanted to get into. I had a girl in my Girl Scout troop, to remain nameless,
I'm eating my cheese sandwich.
who earned her Girl Scout Gold Award, who had killer SAT scores.
Now, is Girl Scout Gold Award the same as an Eagle Scout?
Yep. It's
Okay.
actually harder to get.
Okay.
It's harder to earn. The prereqs are a little bit easier, but the actual project requirements themselves are harder. So she had earned her Girl Scout Gold Award, demonstrated massive amounts of leadership in high school, in sports, academically, in many different dimensions. She had, she was accepted to a lot of different universities. She got into one of our local state universities, and she had multiple internships in her STEM-related major. As a sophomore, she was told that she should just drop out because she didn't have a perfect 4.0 GPA. That they were never going to fully admit her into her major of her choice because she didn't have a 4.0 GPA, because she got a C in chemistry, which is really, freshman chemistry is a tough class for most people. And it bears absolutely no resemblance to her major, right? And I mean, to think about all the years, all the hours, the blood, the sweat, the tears that she put into that, to be told,
the hope, and the expectations.
Yeah, you should just drop out or transfer. So, I'm going to make the comment that they screwed her out of scholarships at other schools and everything because she had just transfer as a sophomore. So, of course, she's not getting the same financial aid offers and scholarships offers because she didn't go in as a freshman. So, it's just, you see stuff like that that's like, oh my gosh, we're in this cutthroat world where it's somehow okay behavior to do this. I mean, and I've sat here and watched my own kids go through studying, and just the sheer expectations of the number of hours a day that they have to study and the grades that they're expected to have is just mind-boggling. And even once they get into college, I have to say that it is a totally different experience than what I went through 30 years ago. 30 years ago.
Why is the measuring stick different?
The measuring stick is very, very different.
Chinese kids, Indian kids.
Well, yeah, among other things, right? And a lot more kids here going to college.
That's interesting.
Yeah, there's a lot more students here because of student loans, right? It's been an interesting situation there.
It's a racket.
It is a racket.
College raises their prices because the government raises the loans.
Well, and then
kids graduate owing $250,000.
Yeah. And it's really easy. Well, and who thought that the math would be a good idea, right? But, you look at it and you're like, oh my gosh, I've just sold my child into indentured servitude for the next 30 years to try to pay off that $250,000 loan. And it's just really interesting to me because I mentor students at Duke in the INE program every semester.
INE being?
Innovation and Entrepreneurship. In their Innovation and Entrepreneurship certificate program. I'm involved a little bit with the students doing some volunteer work. And I've got my own kids in college. So it's really kind of fascinating to me to see how the college experience has changed. Because these schools now, because they've raised the prices so much, are now focused on graduating students. Well, what happens? They go to class and then they have to go to the review session that's mandatory. And then they have to turn in the worksheets from the review session that are now mandatory. And then you go to the help session for the help session. And they're, instead of spending 20 hours a week in class, they're suddenly spending 60 hours a week in class, plus studying.
And they're not getting to go to a party or on a date or get to meet people or get to learn how to
No.
or less as adults.
Well, I mean, they do occasionally party, but yeah, the amount of partying that goes on, with my above stairs, because they've been doing school remotely this semester, is just like non-existent. So, you talk about that crazy sacrifice. It's just nuts to me. Every generation has it.
I think you've made a very valid point. And we have not helped these kids become adults. They've become slaves, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
And they have grown to expect debt, and it's a racket.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, not every kid ends up in debt, but a lot do.
Oh, trust me, every kid born after 1990 is going to inherit these multi-trillions of debt. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who you are.
Right. I mean, and it's
Your
just
taxes for life are going to be staggering.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, I look at this, from a loss perspective, and what we do to our kids, and killing that dream in some ways.
Oh, yeah. And only a few will survive this. This is the strong will survive this. This is staggering. And then I had an experience this week with a visiting child whose personality has changed very much since COVID.
Mm-hmm.
And her mom said, yeah, she's become a hermit. She's afraid
Yeah.
to open up. She's, all of her social skills have kind of gone out the window.
Well, yeah, if you're locked in a house for a year and a half.
Right. And she wants to stay home where it's safer. And I asked her what was scaring her. And I could see the anxiety. And she said, there are people with guns out there, and they shoot up malls, and they shoot up schools. And I thought, man, that's a loss of innocence that you're not going to get back.
Mm-mm.
You combine that with COVID, and young kids are killing themselves. Young kids are.
Well, and people are being unruly. I mean, we've got crazy people on airplanes, and the loss of innocence is truly.
Something that I've noticed.
The loss of civility.
That's just what I was going to say. Is I was out of town a couple of weeks ago, and in a very civil place, and I noticed how many people, as soon as the light would turn green, would lean on their horns. Okay, they all had New York, New Jersey, Connecticut license plates too. I will add that. I noticed that everywhere I went. People, in line, can you hurry up? That kind of,
mm-hmm. We have a lot of that here.
You wouldn't have dreamed of saying something like that 20 years ago. You'd be fired for saying that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't understand the lack of civility.
The lack of civility, the lack of compassion.
Manners.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So how do we get it back?
I'm going to guess that beating our children is not really a good option.
I hear that's a lack of civility, just saying.
Yeah, no, that's kind of a lack of civility. It's one of those things that it has to start at home. And I mean, unfortunately, one of the things I've observed, is that we have people that are becoming adults, and we have people that are my age, 50 years old, who never apologize for anything. They don't own their own shit, and their own stuff doesn't stink ever.
Very good point. I would take that a step farther. We've eased God out of the equation. My generation had to answer to a higher authority.
Mm-hmm.
And we had wonder, awe, respect, and fear. And it was a good thing.
Yeah.
And today, Junior is his own higher power.
But it's not just Junior. I mean, I see a lot of adults, 40s and 50s, and even sometimes people that are extremely religious are this way. I mean, I think that there is just a fundamental culture shift that has happened. And Tish says, have people come around yet since the panic of the pandemic was forced upon us all? I don't think so. I don't think people have come around yet. You know, what's really interesting is that like early on in the pandemic, we saw people being much kinder to one another.
Saw that after 9/11.
And then suddenly, somewhere along the way, you know, people just like
let's go.
And decided they were going to like turn on each other.
That's anxiety.
Like a bunch of rabid wolves. Yeah. Well, and that's anxiety, right? And people will do the weirdest things when they're grieving, when they're anxious, when they're upset, when they're mad, when they're sad.
Hungry, angry, lonely, tired.
Mm-hmm.
HALT. That's my acronym. When I find myself behaving badly, I have to ask, am I hungry? Am I angry? Am I lonely? Am I tired? What's this about? And then I can stop in my tracks and address it and hopefully correct it. But that's taking ownership. And people don't want to take ownership.
No.
I have a family member who lied and lied big. And still, after 12 years, has not apologized, knows that he screwed everybody over. Has never said, I'm sorry, doesn't acknowledge it, pretends everything's fine. I can't. You know, it's not how I roll. It's not a matter of forgiveness. It's a matter of, I don't know if you've learned your lesson, so I'm not so sure I want you around.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
yeah.
Contrite is not in the vocabulary.
Yeah.
And, you know, I don't need to see anybody grovel, but I need people to get it, to be safe around them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And that's just one of those things where, you know, those emotions, you know, I see it a lot in business too. When somebody feels pushed emotionally, they don't separate their emotions out and remain civil. They go, I've seen people go batshit crazy in business in a way that's totally business inappropriate. I mean, guys, it's okay to have emotions. I mean, our businesses are our livelihoods, but
it's not okay to lose it on people, especially publicly. You know, bring somebody into your office and tell them why you're pissed. You don't pop off publicly.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that going on.
And even sometimes if you bring somebody into your office and you let them know you're pissed, you know, there's a certain level of civility that needs to happen there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't always see that.
And cursing at them is not part of that.
Mm-mm.
You know, let's go back to language, because that's kind of like my final frontier. There are a lot of things I've addressed, but taking certain F words out of my vocabulary, I haven't quite gotten there yet.
I'm not there yet.
Yeah, and it keeps me, I think, from putting a hole in the wall when I'm really, really ticked off. But
sometimes I light my last one on fire.
The hole in the wall, or
the F-bomb.
And you want to tell me about that?
I have a candle and it says my last F. Oh, look, I lit it on fire. Oh, look, it's on fire.
Okay. All right. Hey, whatever works. I think about this and I think this would not have been tolerated before. And we have so become accustomed to vulgarity. Mm-hmm. And I look at very briefly, I don't watch network television. I don't watch sitcoms. Right now I'm watching Boston Legal from the 2005, and I'm really enjoying that. But one thing that I'm learning is that in today's world, nothing is sacred. Nothing is personal. Nothing is private. Everybody is just bleeding all over the table. They're just spilling everything out and telling everybody everything. And I can remember, I still laugh at this, and I've told you about this. The young woman who, when I was married the first time, the young woman who was having an affair with my ex-husband while he was living with another woman. And she came and knocked on my door and was surprised that, that he's still seeing her. And she's telling me all this stuff. First of all, I let her in because I knew her. But it was 11 o'clock at night, and she's crying her little kitty eye, and the false eyelashes are falling off. She's crying her little kitty eyes out. And I'm thinking, why on earth are you coming to your boyfriend's ex-wife's house to bleed out this story? There's a book in this somewhere. There's it's
This almost sounds like a drinking game. Shit,
Well,
I couldn't make up if I tried.
That's right. And what happened was these two women who were seeing him, he would cheat on one with the other, go back to one, go back to the other, go back. I mean, this just went on for a year.
Yeah.
Until they both bumped him. But I think about this and I think,
but they allowed it to happen.
Yes. How
I mean, fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, okay, we're done. But yet we tolerate that behavior, right?
Right.
And it's abusive behavior. And and what's amazing to me is that you see this in business. I have friends.
About that.
I have friends in my industry, right? I'm sure you've got attorneys that have been through this too. Hey, I've got this asshole client. Yeah, they call me every name in the book. They're abusive, but they pay their bill on time.
Not acceptable. Life's too short.
I agree. I agree, right? But how many times do you even know like other attorneys, other professionals who are like, well, they treat me like shit, but I keep taking them back because they pay their bill on time.
It's craziness.
We put up with it in our personal lives. We put it up with it in our private lives. And aren't going to keep that client because they're, 10 or 15% of my income.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wow.
That's crazy. Life's too short, but maybe people are too broke. I'm looking
or maybe they're too scared of loss.
Or they haven't figured out who they were, so they accept anything that comes down the pike.
Well, totally. But a lot of times they're too scared to give something up. They're too scared of loss.
Because they don't know if anything will come along and replace it that's better.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been that woman. I remember when I got divorced and I drove away down that driveway in a station wagon, borrowed, with my things. I mean, the moving van had already taken off, and it was a very, very tough time. I mean, I'm surprised I survived it. I weighed 96 pounds. I smoked 3 packs of Marlboros a day. I was in law school and I was working 3 jobs. I don't know how I survived it.
Mm-hmm.
But I think about this and I think,
nah.
You don't. It's not. I thought, I'm never going to have anything this good again. And that's what kept me there, kept unacceptable behavior.
Mm-hmm.
One day I was done. I mean, I was so done. If he had shown up with 2 suitcases of 10 million each and said, please stay, I would have said, keep the money. I'm done. I can't do this another minute, hour, week. Done. But what was holding me up was the fear that I would never have the trappings again. And I mean, God is good. God is good, because when I got to the point where I said, I give up, here you go. You got it. I can't do this. I
can't do this anymore.
I muck it up. I can't do this anymore. The choices that I make are not helping me. Here you go, God. Please manage my life. And it was instant. It was instant that my life turned around. And my life became a much better life than it could have ever been back there.
Mm-hmm.
And when I have run into my ex-husband, I don't have any of the hard feelings. I wish him well. He's remarried. I hope he finds happiness. I hope he finds wealth. I hope he finds peace, as long as it's elsewhere.
But it's not with you.
Yeah, it's not with me. Not this week, not this month, not this lifetime. And
sometimes it's not knowing when to let go and allow that loss to happen.
Well, it's certainly
tough.
God certainly let me fall on my face.
Mm-hmm.
and stay there for a while. And
Yeah,
I don't know anybody else who quite had it like that. And it was like,
but I think
have
it's
you really
human
learned the
nature.
lesson?
It's human nature
To hang on tight.
to hang on tight. You
Mm-hmm.
hit rock bottom and you keep digging. And some of us, like me, in traumatic situations, I'm one of these. I hit rock bottom. I keep digging. I pull out the damn dynamite and a backhoe.
You and me.
I've done it.
I'm going to take charge and I'm going to fix it. And I think about this and I think I live about a mile away from a world famous alcohol and drug rehab.
Mm-hmm.
Any given day you can drive past and there's that famous person in the front yard that you saw on the Tonight Show and, all that stuff. And I think about this and I think hitting bottom, 4 out of 5 people that went into AA 30, 40 years ago, 4 out of 5 who went into AA got well. 4 out of 5 today do not. And sending rehab where they're paying, no insurance. They're paying big bucks. I mean, $50,000 for a month, kind of big bucks.
Mm-hmm.
And they might have to do it a few times till it takes. And I'm thinking, I read about Stephen King and getting sober. He was addicted to cocaine. And I don't know about alcohol, but I would assume so to slow down the cocaine. And his wife apparently put it to him and said, look it, buddy, I'm not doing this anymore. You clean it up or you clean it out. Mm-hmm. And he did. And he talked about the easier, softer way of today's rehabs. And he's saying, no, I'm sitting in church basements with a cold cup of coffee talking to people about sobriety. And so I think that a lot of getting well and getting to a better place is the lost part has to be a component. Because if you don't lose big, a lot of times you don't
gain that self-respect and that inner desire
to move forward. Yes, to treat yourself well, to treat others well, to be civil,
to make healthy. That it's almost a cellular change too that happens.
Well, that's the power of higher power.
Absolutely. And it's been shown that it's like almost a DNA change that happens when you go through these types of transitions. It's really kind of cool.
If you're losing it all, look at what you gain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And I think this is how I have to look at loss today.
Mm-hmm.
That I've lost many things in my lifetime, but I've also gained many, many things. And
I had to lose my dad to be where I am today.
I did too, because I had to be on my own 2 feet. I was young when my mother died, and I had I hadn't. I was still in my 40s when my father died. And when you're the oldest generation, you realize, okay, if I don't do it, who's going to? There's no one to count on.
Mm-hmm.
So but God is there, and you can count on Him. And and I
had that moment when my dad died 8 years ago. That life is too damn short for this. Is this all that there is? My dad retired at 55. And my mother had multiple sclerosis, and then my dad had dementia and Parkinson's. So they were not well for a number of years prior to passing. And to me, it was a real eye-opening. It's that, hitting rock bottom and realizing where I was not happy. I was not making a difference in the world. I was not meeting my full potential. But I had to go through that loss and that pain to get there. I had to go through what I went through with my daughter to be where I am now.
Did you ever think in your life, I sure didn't, that I would actually be thanking God for
No,
what he took away. What
no.
he allowed to be taken away.
Hmm.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I would have ever been grateful. And then now, it's really funny. Things happen in life, things happen in business, a client situation or, a relationship situation or anything. And I start to approach it with an attitude of gratitude. Three and a half
DNA changing, isn't it?
And 3.5 years ago, I adopted a dog who was a senior. At the time, we knew she was a senior. And she was somewhere between 12 and 13 years old. And she was the dog my husband never wanted. And she was perfect. She's a lab mix. She's like 40-ish pounds. She's perfectly behaved. She's got no prey drive. And we have an entire menagerie. So that part was really important.
Yeah,
And
no chasing bunnies or birds at your house.
Yeah. We can't have a dog that chases bunnies, chinchillas, cats, birds, much of anything. Or kids, because we have a few of those. And, she brought a lot of healing to us.
Oh, dogs are wonderful for that. And now it's time to say goodbye. And you'll see her again. And she'll be in your heart.
Yep. And sorry, guys, this is going on in real time in our house. So it's just one of those things.
It's life on life's terms.
Yeah, exactly. Not on my terms, not when I want it to be, not how I want it to be, or any of that fun stuff. Life happens. And I'm grateful. Through the tears.
You're lucky to have her.
Very.
I'm lucky to have you.
Thank you.
These are great conversations.
Yep.
And I hope that they help other people.
Yep. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. We'll be back next Tuesday. And this is a lot of fun, even when I am a weepy mess. So we'll talk later. Take care, guys.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.